Hey everybody, welcome back to our neck of the woods. Obviously we're down here in the vault. Christmas is coming up, so number one, we finally got some t-shirts ready to go. Took us a while to figure out like what type of quality of t-shirt we wanted. Not to mention I tried experimenting with many different types of ways to put stuff onto the t-shirt and nothing made me happy until basically we contacted a professional. We went with this ink print. So if you comment down below, follow us on NeckofTheWoods 2020 on Instagram. You can easily message us and we can send you the link. You can go ahead and pick yours up today. And Dad, this video is for you. All right, so my dad watches all of my videos and he and I are both hunters. We've been hunters basically forever. And we live in the state of Ohio and we're not allowed certain types of guns in Ohio. And my dad finally admitted that he would like to basically upgrade. So before I was born and before probably my dad ever even started hunting, in the state of Ohio, I believe at some point in time, we were basically allowed anything for hunting, and that included rifles. Now, I'm gonna say that inappropriately the whole time, but what I mean by rifle is basically like these three style of cartridges right here, and that's what I'm referring to rifle. I'm referring to basically a piece of brass that starts down here pretty thick, and then it eventually necks down to basically a high velocity rifle type of bullet. So whether it be this like 8mm Mauser or this 300 blackout or just this standard like 5.56 round, all of these are illegal in the state of Ohio for hunting, again, because they neck down and their velocities are too high. I'm assuming at some point in time in Ohio, somebody was probably tragically killed because somebody tried to shoot a deer, they missed it. You got a round that can go very, very far, you know, thousands of yards downrange and eventually accidentally hit someone, hit a house, hit a car, a barn, whatever, somebody else's property. And at some point in time, again, I think before I was born, rifle rounds were made illegal in the state of Ohio. Now, since I've been born, I know that my dad has always hunted with 12-gauge shotgun. In fact, this is, I believe, his preferred round. It is a Remington 2 3/4 standard size, 1 ounce slug out of a 12-gauge shotgun. And these have always worked, but he has always told me stories. And even when I got into hunting and started with 12-gauge, it seems like deer just never go down when they're supposed to go down. His biggest buck, I think, that he's ever killed, I think he shot it a couple times and it would get shot, bed down, get up and run 50 yards, bed down, get up and run 50 yards, bed down again, etc., etc. So to me, the 12-gauge shotgun with a 1 ounce lead slug, it works, but I just don't like the performance of it. I don't like what I have personally experienced and what I've been told by my dad, at least, of just basically it doesn't put a deer down instantly. A few years ago, Ohio went back to the drawing board and they said basically you're allowed a rifle again. However, there's some certain stipulations there. And basically you're only allowed a rifle now in the state of Ohio that as long as the brass is basically a straight-walled cartridge. So that would basically mean anything that's like a pistol round, but of a certain caliber. It's got to be 357 Magnum or higher. And if you are using an actual pistol round, it's got to be shot out of, I think, a barrel that's at least like 10 inches long or longer. Not that I think anyone's carrying pistols around with like 2-foot-long barrels, but that's basically the laws in Ohio now. And what I mean by, again, straight-walled cartridges, the reason why I said I would mess this rifle up a lot by saying it, they do make rifled rounds to where this brass is the entire length. It's all very smooth. There is no neck down cartridge, and you can fire it out of a rifle. So, but when I say rifle, I mean, I always refer to rifle as being something like this and not something like this. But this is my rifle round. This is what I have been using in the state of Ohio for the past couple years, and it just works flawlessly. So just to get into a little bit of like the differences between these two, This is a 1-ounce slug by Remington. That 1 ounce, most people will understand that people usually talk about bullets in the weights of not ounces, but in grains. So for example, your standard 5.56 223, this is a 55 grain bullet. Obviously a very, very tiny, very, very fast type of round, but very lightweight at only 55 grains. So just to convert a 1 ounce slug real quick, this is 440 grains. So that is a very big piece of lead, traveling not that fast at only 1,560 feet per second, as opposed to something like a 5.56 that's traveling over 3,000 feet per second. So basically almost double what a slug can do. Now, if you punch in the ballistics calculator of what this can actually do, at 1,500 basically feet per second, this 1 ounce slug is basically hitting with enough kinetic energy at the muzzle with around 3,200 joules of energy. And I believe if we convert that, 3,204 joules of energy convert to 2,363 foot-pounds. So this thing hitting you at point blank range at the muzzle basically is like dropping a car on you. Basically our Mazda Miata, about 2,400 pounds, just right on you. Obviously that's a lot of power, that's a lot of kinetic energy, but everything that I don't like about this is the fact that, again, it just doesn't put down a deer instantly. The flight characteristics are horrible because it's just a big flat lead slug. I personally, my 12 gauge shotgun is this Mossberg 500, Mossberg 500 Tactical. It does have a smooth barrel, meaning there is no rifling in here. It's completely baby smooth. So when you combine that barrel with this round, the round itself does have some like fluting or spiraling in it. So when it does fly out, it does try to do the football effect to give you that spiral. So it has a better trajectory. It's just not great. I have missed a deer with that gun before, and as you saw, it had a red dot scope on it. Not the greatest red dot either. It's got a big old fat 4 MOA red dot, and that basically means minutes of angle. And what that basically translates into, at 100 yards, that 4 MOA dot is 4 inches in diameter. So at 100 yards, it's obstructing basically 4 inches of your target. At 200 yards, it would be an 8-inch. And then at 300 yards, it would be a 16-inch. So every 100 yards that you go out, that MOA basically doubles in size. So that is a really crappy scope for that gun, I'll admit that. And again, even at 100 yards, you're obstructing so much of the target that, again, I have missed a deer with that gun before, probably at about 100 yards. It was raining. The red dot had water all over it. I'm trying to like dry it off as a deer's like walking by, and I basically ended up missing. And that was the final straw that I said, I am done with 12 grade shotgun. I need an actual rifle round. Again, not meaning rifle round like this. I need an actual rifle round with a rifled barrel to get a way better, more accurate round and a better sight, basically. So after looking and looking and looking, I finally ended up with this guy right here. This is a Harrington and Richardson breech load 444 Marlin. Now, in terms of weight, this bullet here is only 265 grain. Now you would think that's crazy. 265 grain is going to be better than 440. Well, yeah, it is, because the straight walled cartridge 444 at the muzzle again is 4,551 joules, or 3,356 foot-pounds. So we're talking 1,000 foot-pounds more of energy out of this cartridge right here than out of this cartridge. So that's night and day. Again, not to mention that this is fired out of a rifled barrel. This thing is so insanely accurate, not to mention it's got a freaking scope on it. It's a 3 to a 9 power. And if there's a deer even at 100 yards and it's walking slowly, trust me, you have all the time in the world to go from like a 3 power, turn this thing up to a 9, and basically you're looking at its entire chest, right where you're going to hit on a heart or lung shot. And this thing is going to be deadly accurate every single time, and there's basically no chance of missing. And this gun wasn't even expensive. This is like a $200 gun with like a $100 scope. So we're looking at like a $300 package here for deadly accuracy. And even out to 200 yards, I think this round only drops about 7 to 8 inches. At about 300 yards, it's dropping almost 30 inches. So you really would have to aim like really high above the deer at 300 yards. So I would not recommend a round like this to go out to 300, but anywhere around like 200, maybe out to like 250, you actually could take a shot like this. And with a 12 gauge shotgun, whether you have a red dot on it, whether you have a scope on it, or like my dad likes to still use, iron sights, there's no chance in hell. So my dad contacted me and he finally admitted that he missed a deer this year. Again, he's still using the 12 gauge shotgun. He is still using iron sights. And I mean, my eyes aren't even that great and I'm only 40. So I can't imagine what it's like to be older like my dad. And he admitted that it's getting harder, and it's even hard for me to look at a rear sight, a front sight, and then something like 100 yards away to be able to line all three up. And again, if I can miss with a red dot, I can't imagine how bad it is if you were to still be using iron sights today. So he finally admitted that I need something bigger and better. I need something that I can actually see through, like a red dot or a scope or even a holographic. So he is going to be coming over. We are going to be shooting out at the range in the backyard. I'm going to let him experience like a cheap red dot. I do have a couple good red dots. I have a holographic that actually is a 1 MOA dot, so that would only be covering up 1 inch at 100 yards. That's a very expensive type of red dot though, or holographic. But again, I'm even gonna let him shoot a scope and just show him just how stupid easy it is to hit a target and have variable power at basically any distance that you want, or any zooming in that you want, that just makes it stupid easy, that hopefully his eyes will be able to see, and it should be way better for him to start using nowadays. Now, I was going to get him a 444 Marlin. Again, this is legal in the state of Ohio. I think there are some states where even this is illegal, even though they do allow straight wall cartridges. I think Illinois and southern Michigan, this is illegal because the brass is too long, and basically they say the velocity is too high, and again, they don't want you hurting another hunter or hitting a house, etc. So I think in those states, the max brass length that you can do is only 1.8 inches, while this is like this is almost like 2.5 inches. So in some states, again, you have to drop down to like 1.8, but they do allow straight-walled cartridges. And he contacted me and said, I would like a new gun. Not exactly sure what to get. I know two things though. I would like an AR platform, which blew me away. I can't imagine my dad ever wanting to get an AR style rifle, so I'm kind of happy about that. But he also said that he wanted a semi-automatic. I tried talking him into a breech load. And again, if you're not familiar with guns or understanding what a breech load is, basically it means that you hit this little button here. The gun basically just kind of breaks in half like a double-barreled shotgun. And I actually do have one of those over there. I don't think I'm allowed to show you guys anything. I'm only allowed to talk, and I'm only allowed to shoot. I can't show you putting a round into a magazine. I can't show you me building an AR, or basically YouTube will demonetize this video. But again, breech load, it just breaks in half. You put the round in, you close it, it just kind of basically folds back together, and you take your shot. I tried talking him into this because if you can't hit a deer with something so accurate with a freaking scope and a rifle, then basically you just shouldn't be hunting. But it's his wish that, again, he wanted an AR style platform. He wanted a semi-auto. In the state of Ohio, we are only allowed 3 rounds maximum in the gun at one time. You can carry 1,000 rounds on you if you wanted, but we are allowed only 3 rounds maximum. So basically 2 in a magazine, or in my shotgun here. I think this had like a 9 or 8 round magazine, tube magazine below. You basically have to put like a wood stopper in here, like a dowel rod, so you can only put 2 down into the magazine, and then 1 obviously goes in the chamber. And that was actually a law implemented in my lifetime, because I do remember one of my dad's friends hunting with basically like a tactical like that in a semi-auto. And yeah, he's been known to unload basically like all 8 or 9 rounds at once at one deer. So state of Ohio kind of took a look at that and said, yeah, no more. 3 rounds maximum. So you better be hitting your target basically on your first round or you're done. So what could I kind of put together for my dad that I could think of? Again, this video is for him because I am going to build it for him. It is going to be his Christmas present. And basically what I decided that was easy enough to go with an AR style platform is this guy right here, which is almost identical to what I shoot. And this is called a 450 Bushmaster round. So basically it can fit into an AR style magazine. It can fit onto an AR lower receiver. You just have to buy the barrel in the upper that can fit the 450 Bushmaster, and you have an AR style semi-automatic 3-round magazine that you can use. And again, very, very similar characteristics to what I shoot. The 450 Bushmaster here in the Hornady FXT bullets here. This is a 250 grain versus my 265. Obviously, it's a straight-walled cartridge, and this round can basically be used almost anywhere. It can be used in Illinois and southern Michigan because it does meet that 1.8-inch requirement. And its ballistics properties are almost basically like mine and 10 times above this one. All right, so I just had to punch that in real quick. So looks like my round is, again, 265 grain. It's almost 2,400 feet per second. The 450 Bushmaster is 2,200 feet per second, so not that far behind, because this actually is a little under 24. So we're talking less than 200 feet per second between the two. But because this is a little bit lighter weight of a round, we're getting 3633 joules, or 2,679 foot-pounds. So between the 3 rounds that basically we can hunt here, or that me and my dad are going to be hunting here in the state of Ohio, you're looking at only 2,300 foot-pounds, almost 2,700 foot-pounds, and over 3,300 foot-pounds. So basically my dad's round that he wanted to go with is right in the middle, and I think it's going to work just, again, way better than this guy. Every deer that I have taken down with this 444 Marlin round, the deer has not moved. I can't remember how many I've got. It's at least 3 or 4 now at this point, because again, I've only had this rifle for a few years when I missed that one a few years ago with that 12 gauge. But every single deer, they did not move. I hit them where they stood. They literally dropped in their tracks, and that was it. I didn't walk up on them like I have with a 12 gauge, and they're still alive, they're still breathing, and I have to basically shoot them again. It's not humane, in my opinion, to let them suffer like that. And I have had no problems with this 444. They have just been dead before they hit the ground. So I highly, highly, highly recommend the Marlin, or even the 4570 Government, because they're very similar type of rounds, and they've got the long cases. But if you are living in a state where you can't use those, I think the 450 Bushmaster is as close as you can get. Although there is one more. I think there's the 350 Legendary, or 350 Legend. I think that is a little bit better, but again, basically, I think this is as good as you're gonna get. Now, as mentioned, I cannot show you the building of the AR or any gunsmithing that would demonetize this video, but I have already purchased everything. I have put it together. So without further ado, and Dad, you'll see this video after you already see this, but your Christmas present is what you wanted, and that is a semi-auto AR style platform in the 450 Bushmaster. Now, just a little bit about this. Again, the scope on this, like all the scopes on my other guns, this is a Bushnell scope. These are, they actually are Bushnell banners. There's banner 2s, I think. These are literally $100 scopes, and I'm telling you, I have got them on at least 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 guns. These are not what are on like my long range style rifles, which me and my wife basically both own. This guy here, this is a Nikon M223 scope. This is way more expensive because this 20-inch heavy barrel can reach way out far, way more than any of these like straight wall cartridges. So that actually has a way more expensive scope on it than these Bushnells. But again, they just work. And because the 450 Bushmaster is a rifle styled cartridge, basically what I built him here was more of a rifled styled AR, meaning inside of here where you have the spring and buffer, this spring and buffer is very small. The buffer is very lightweight because this is a setup more for a carbine style, which has a much shorter stock, a much shorter buffer tube. But because the Bushmaster is more of a rifle style, it is much longer, way bigger spring, way heavier buffer. So that is why we went with the solid stock, the A2 stock, instead of something adjustable. Magazine, again, this is a AR style magazine, but it is not meant for AR rounds like the 223. This is specifically kind of bent and rolled over so that it can house a straight walled cartridge. This is a 5-round magazine. For that, we do have to take this apart and put in basically like either 2 pieces of wood or 2 empty cases to take up 2 spots. So that way we can only get 3 in here total, or actually 2 in here total, and then probably put 1 in the chamber. That way he is compliant in the state of Ohio. I have already sighted this in for him. I will go out and sight it in again for you guys, but just my thoughts, this thing still kicks. It has a hell of a compensator on it to basically take some of the impact off of you. Shooting the 444 Marlin with basically that barrel being like smoothly cut off there, you're only looking at about 3 or 4 rounds to sight that thing in, and then your shoulder's like, yeah, okay, this kind of sucks. The compensator does make up for that to kind of push those gases forward, so you're not getting all of the impact pushback. As the gases go out the barrel, they push on the compensator and it kind of like pushes the gun off of your shoulder. So this is needed. It does help. It does make for a more enjoyable shooting experience. But even with this guy on here, this is not like you're shooting a 5.56 round. It still has a hell of a kick on it, even with this guy. But everything on this thing was purchased individually except for the upper. I have built a couple of my uppers where you have to actually, you know, bolt on and wrench down the barrel to the upper, etc. I didn't do it in this case. It was just cheaper and easier to just buy the whole upper, the bolt carrier group and the charging handle, etc., all from one company, because that way everything would be dialed in with each other, so it's safe and ready to go. But I usually do save a little bit of money, and I do enjoy building the entire lowers out myself, getting the lower and a trigger group and a handle and the buffer and tube, etc., all separate, and then putting all the pieces and pins in and springs, etc., myself. So I do enjoy that. But again, I am going to wait for tomorrow. Hopefully my dad shows up. Gonna present him with this after I let him test everything. I know he was looking more for a red dot. I did kind of at least go with one thing on my own accord, which was at least popping a scope on it. But because this is only like actually like an $80 scope on this guy, if he does hate it and doesn't want it, we can certainly go to like Cabela's together and pop this guy off and put a red dot or a holographic on if that is what he prefers. But at least in terms of building it, I was able to do what he wanted, and that was again, a semi-auto in an AR style platform. So we'll shoot a couple rounds through it tomorrow when he shows up. But again, I'll let him shoot kind of progressing up until we get to this. And then again, we'll present this to him for his Christmas present. And again, Dad, Merry Christmas. Hope you enjoy it. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video while we do some shooting. So until tomorrow, I'll see you guys then. All right, everybody, next day here, we're gonna fire a few more rounds out of this. Like I said, I already sighted it in yesterday. Extremely easy. Within my first shot, I was just a few inches off from where I was aiming, from literally just bolting this thing on by eyeballing it. And I only had to do a few clicks till I was absolutely dead center to where I wanted to be. But we had a few issues yesterday that I want to test again, and then I may have to resolve before my dad shows up and I give this to him. So first issue was, I think this magazine is not the greatest. And what I noticed is, because both of these feed ramps are kind of bent in on this AR mag, which this is probably like a 10 round mag here, or maybe a 20, I can't remember. Only 5 rounds of the 450 Bushmasters are supposed to fit in here. And basically what I noticed is the feed ramps, or the mag here that's bent over, is really cutting in to the brass. So if it's cutting in, that means as the brass is leaving the magazine, it's dragging. So we basically had a few failure to feeds. They didn't go up in all of the way. So that was problem number 1. And then a few of them basically didn't go in far enough. So the bolt was kind of pulled back a little bit here, which I can't get it to do it on purpose, but if you pull the bolt back a little bit, it's kind of like hung up right there. You have to use the forward assist to push the bolt all the way home and to get the round further in there and get it completely seated. Now, if it's not a magazine problem, then either one, when you're pushing the bolt release here to get this thing to slide all the way home, the spring may not be strong enough, or the buffer is too heavy and it's kind of going home like basically too slow. But I also had failure to feeds when I was actually firing. So that's obviously with the recoil of the bolt and spring being pushed all the way back and then going back home, we basically had a few failure to feeds. So again, easy fix. Obviously it's a brand new gun, things could happen. It's a semi-automatic. More things are gonna happen than if, of course, it was a revolver or a lever action or even a pump or even a breech load. So again, the spring may need upgraded, the buffer may need reduced, but I think the biggest problem in seeing those cuts on the brass is we may have to bend these up a little bit, and we may have to get some sandpaper, because we have to take this apart anyway to put in some wooden dowels or some expended brass. We may have to sand these lips down a little bit to get them to run a little bit smoother. The other thing that I noticed, and this may not be a problem, if anyone out there has a 450 Bushmaster, let me know. But as you can see, although I can't show you, when I put the magazine in here empty, it goes in fine without a problem. However, with a round in the magazine, I cannot get the magazine to go up into the gun with the bolt closed. So you have to pull the bolt back, lock out the bolt release, slide your charging handle back on, then you can put the mag in, and then you can go ahead and push the bolt release and get the round to chamber. But I don't know, again, if that is a problem with the setup or if it's a 450 Bushmaster problem that you cannot load this with the bolt closed. You can do that on a regular AR. The other thing that I thought was interesting, and again, this may not be a problem with the gun itself, it may just be a 450 Bushmaster problem, but right now the magazine is empty. And usually on any semi-automatic weapon, when you fire the last round, the bolt will lock open so that when you're shooting, you can basically look real quick, you can see that you're empty, and you can load in another magazine. But for whatever reason, when this magazine is in and the last round is fired, the bolt does not stay open, but that time it did. Okay, now I'm confused. Oh, the joys of a new gun when you build them yourself. Okay, I swear to God, the other day, this thing would not slide open or stay open when the last round was fired, but now that actually is catching. Interesting. Maybe we have to wear it in. So that's exactly what I wanted to do today. I wanted to test to see if there are any more failures, lube this thing up a little bit more, possibly work on the magazine, which actually that makes me wonder. Let's go ahead and load a round in the mag. And let's see if I can actually put this thing up in here. And it went in this time. Okay, I swear to God, I'm not crazy. None of this stuff worked the other day. There is a round in the magazine. I was able to seat the magazine this time. And as you can see, the bolt is closed. Wow, I am very confused right now. Maybe it did just need worn in with a few more rounds. Okay, let's try the last issue that I could have been having. Let's pull the charging handle back and let's see if this will actually seat. And that time it seated. Maybe lube was all that we needed. All right, we got one in the chamber. We got two in the mag. Let's go ahead and run 3 right now. Let's test if all 3 will fire as they should. And besides lubrication, there is only one other thing that I can think of, which this may be happening. It's 30 degrees outside right now, and I've been out here for a minute. The metal is getting colder. And the other day when I sighted this thing in, it was 65 degrees outside. So I'm wondering if the tolerances basically are too close together. And it does need kind of either some gunsmithing, sanding. It needed more lube or it needed broken in. I don't know. But metal does shrink when it's 30 degrees outside. And obviously we're not in the sun. So I don't know. I wonder if that could have been the issue. Fingers crossed. Let's see if all 3 of these will go ahead and fire. And then we can give this to my dad for his Christmas present. All right, round number 1. All right, fired good. Bolt is closed. Number 2. Ha! They hit in the same damn hole. I can't even tell that I hit 2 rounds there. We're gonna have to measure how far away we are out to the stop in my target there, but holy crap, is this thing accurate. Wow. We're gonna have to back up to 100 yards, but I guarantee you this thing is gonna be a sub MOA group. Granted, those spots are about this big on the target, but they are literally hitting the same spot. But, see, I'm not that crazy. All 3 rounds were fired and it did not lock open. See? Thank God I'm not crazy. We are not locking open. All right, at least I see the issue. The bolt release is not going up high enough to catch the bolt. Right there it is. But if you heard that, right there we're caught. But if I pull back, see, it drops. So why was it doing it before? It is something with the magazine. Basically, this back piece here, it's kind of rocking back and forth in the mag. And this back piece isn't pushing up high enough, but there's a few thousandths that thing's off a little bit. And it's just enough not to push up on that high enough and to catch that every single time. Okay, so at least I know that's not really a gun problem. It definitely looks like it's a magazine problem. And that was like a $20 Bushmaster modified AR mag. Anybody has any of those that they recommend or prefer, comment down below and let me know where I should get a different mag that's better. Or maybe it just needs a stronger spring in there to push up on the follower a little bit stronger. All right, I don't know about you, but all 3 of those rounds hit right there. Literally in a 1-inch MOA group. Looks like 1 hit there, 1 may have hit there, and I don't know. The 3rd one must have hit in the same spot also. I almost don't believe that thing is that accurate. Let's go get some spray paint. I'm gonna spray paint that up so we have a brand new surface. And it's probably not that impressive because we're not that far away, but I do wanna get my rangefinder and see exactly how far away we are. All right, let's see how we do. I don't think you guys are gonna be able to see that, but right at this tree right here, over top of the propane tank, all the way back there is our target at exactly 100 yards. So we're only going from whatever I said, 59 out to 100. It should still be pretty much spot on. We're probably gonna have to obviously adjust height, but let's give it a ring and see what happens. All right, proving I am not crazy, number 2. I just pulled back on the charging handle and we got stuck. So we have to push the forward assist, and now we're in battery. So yeah, this magazine I think is causing me a whole bunch of hell. Wow, dead center. I do not have to adjust anything at all. Dad, I am loving this gun. Oh, but we have a problem. We have got a failure to feed. All right, so we are having our issues still. That did not load up in. The ballistic tip either got caught on the breech. The round barely made it out of the magazine, and our bolt is not even close to being home. So, all right, maybe I don't love it that much. Yep, that still didn't go all the way home. I still had to hit the forward assist. All right, that was about 2 inches low. That one did feed home. I am gonna adjust this a little bit. That first round that I did, I didn't really have anything to aim at, as opposed to that time I had a big old gray hole that I could hit. All right, they're 1/4 inch clicks at 100 yards, so if we're 2 inches low, we should be back spot on at 100%. Bullseye. And once again, we did not slide home and lock out. You know, come to think of it, that magazine, we actually may not need to at least buy a stronger spring, like I said. If we put wooden dowels underneath of the spring and it's pushing up, then that spring's gonna get tighter. And if the spring gets tighter with 2 dummy rounds underneath of it, then that means it will be pushing up on that follower more heavily, which at least will give us one problem solved by leaving the bolt open on the last shot when the mag's empty. But that's not too bad, right? So that guy right there was my first shot, where I was basically just aiming at nothing because all of this was orange. That was my second shot. We went up 2 inches on our clicks for adjustment, and that was my second shot. So first shot and third shot, that is literally in a 1 inch MOA. I don't think you can get any better than that for a crazy, like, non-precision type of hunting rifle. But 100 yards, that should put a deer down every freaking time. And again, I'm going to polish and sand the top of that magazine to make the transition of the round smoother. If it doesn't work, then we got to figure out again what we're going to do for either a stronger spring or a lighter buffer. But I'll see you guys back tomorrow. Hey everybody, welcome back a few days later. So unfortunately, I'm not able to meet with my dad this Christmas. I don't know when the next time will be. We're just busy schedules at 2 different locations from where we live. Not to mention Erin and I think almost everyone in her family is sick right now. I've been dealing with this thing that's been going around. It's been popping up a lot on the news, and many people have been reporting just a constant, like, month-long cold that would just not go away. And unfortunately, when mine was going away after about a month, I was taking care of a few patients last Monday, which was about a week ago now. And everyone comes in coughing, no one's wearing a mask, etc. And I picked something else up. So basically all within one day, I had a couple patients that were flu A positive, coughing everywhere, a couple COVIDs, and then I was in one lady's room who was negative for everything, but we ended up doing a test on her that's very expensive, but sometimes they run it. It's called a respiratory PCR test. Same as a nasal swab like all the other ones, but it tests for like 20 other viruses, and she actually ended up coming back with RSV positive. And I was in that room for just way too long, and I'm 99% sure that I have RSV now, on top of that month-long cold that's been going around. So I don't want to get anybody else sick. So I'm taking a few days off for work, obviously because of the holidays. I do not want to infect my dad or anything like that. So unfortunately, I will not be able to give him his Christmas present for a while, so I don't know when that will be. But maybe this Christmas present here is for him, that he gets to see this video and see what I built him and what I will be presenting to him. But since gun season is over with, he won't be able to use this year, unfortunately. He'll have to wait till next year. And the only other hunting that we have left with firearms is muzzle loader season that's coming up here in a few days or a few weeks. So maybe if I'm healthy by then, I'll be able to present it to him during muzzle loader. But again, he won't be able to use it. But at least for now, he can see this video and see what I got him. So to my dad, to my mom, to all of my friends and family, again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I hope you guys all stay safe and healthy for this year, and I hope you make it a good one. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Take care.